Hey, how's it going? I still haven't put out a video in a long time, but these voice memos help me out a lot by sharing my opinions and thoughts about stuff. My voice sounds fucking terrible. It feels like I'm sick, but I barely talk to anybody, so this is a good thing. But yeah, I wanted to talk about a few things. I want to talk about alienation, loneliness, depression, anxiety. There's another point of view that you can take with being lonely and depressed. It's a sign that you are not living the life that you want to live. Like, if you're depressed and lonely with your friends, you're depressed and lonely with yourself. If you don't feel like you're connecting to people, you're not feeling like you belong, it's because you don't belong. And that's a good thing. It's just your brain telling you that whatever situation you're in right now is not the situation you're supposed to be in. And whatever past experiences you had were with the people that were wrong for you. And there's always people who are right with you that you mess up with. That's also a possibility. That is also a very deep possibility. So the problem is, there's really no problem. All it is that you have to find your own way. People have found their way, and you have to find your own. And people don't want the same thing that you want as a person, depending on what kind of person you are, right? If you're a mainstream person, you like mainstream things, then that's very easy to, and it's very easy to achieve. You just have to go to school for 4 years, and you go to university, apply to like 1,000 jobs, and you'll find a job, and you'll be able to get that job. Maybe that house, depending on where you live. If you live in where I live, where buying houses is very expensive, and only like upper middle class people can afford it, then it's very hard to get to that stage. Very hard. Just getting on the highway. My point is, in order to improve yourself as a person, you do a lot of stuff to improve yourself. You need to improve yourself completely. Your mind will fuck with you, and you'll say this person's better for that person's better for this, and people will like shit on you. Because the problem is, society is like, we're not taught to encourage people. We're taught to, it's a competition, right? Everybody's trying to be better than the other person. Everybody's trying to get, for especially men, we like that competition. But if you lose a lot in that competition, we tend to like fucking give up on society. We tend to just fucking sit around, not work, play video games all day, jerk off all day. The problem is, when we're not competitive as men, we tend to fucking become these lunatics that fucking murder a bunch of people. Because they realize that the game is way too hard. The game of just improving yourself as a person, getting a better job, or starting your own business, approaching women, building a good social... Sorry, my voice sounds terrible. It sounds like I'm sick. Building a good social circle, all of that requires a lot of work and hard work. For some people, it's easier because they grew up with great parents, and they grew up with like purpose and meaning, and their parents were able to instill good values in them, so they didn't have to struggle with depression, anxiety. Maybe they did, but maybe not as much as a person who's dealt with being loner, a social outcast, all that stuff for a long time. All it is, a society has decided that you are not, and they do this to men all the time. Men get fucked over a lot, but no, thing is, I'll tell you something. Nobody gives a shit about men. Nobody gives a fuck. Men don't even care about men. Men don't give a shit about other men. Men will fuck any dude over to get the job that he wants, to get the sale that he wants, and to get the girl that he wants. Because obviously it's you against everybody. That's what it is. And for guys like us who have been kind of shit on and dealt with depression and anxiety and all that stuff, we have to get that competition back in ourselves. We have to be able to compete with other men. Because other men are going to shit on you. Let's say if you were the guy who was like, who had the nice childhood and you had the, who was like maybe 6'5" or something, very athletic, very just dominant personality-wise. Wouldn't you be the same kind? Same type of person? If you had advantages over somebody, wouldn't you exploit them as a dude? The reason you would do it is because you would feel that confidence within yourself, right? There's no difference between us. We were the ones who were kind of shit on, but the thing is, any of us can become better. And the thing is, we have the drive to become better. We have the fucking drive. When you deal with a lot of negativity constantly, a lot of bullshit, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, it either breaks you, like a lot of people. That's why a lot of men fucking commit suicide. I don't know, I was looking at some stat or something. 70%. Sorry, I was looking at some stats that said 75% of men commit suicide. Majority of them. Because we don't have support systems as men. Because again, men, it's a competition. It's a competition between other men. But the thing is, there are places where you can go to find a clan, a group of people. You know what I mean? There are places where you can go to find that. And the problem is, a lot of our groups have been stopped and have been canceled because they want to be inclusive to women, and women continue to have their own groups. You know what I mean? The thing is, women will look after other women. That's the way they are, right? They're more nurturing. Men are not the same way. Men, we were all like people that look after ourselves. And that's the way it should be. And if you're somebody who's been a people pleaser or depression, social anxiety, all that stuff, you weren't in it for yourself. The thing is, if you're a person who's caring, giving, as a man, there's no value to that unless you have value to give to people. If you're just kind and nice to people all the time, but you don't give value, you don't have ways of improving people's lives, then you're considered worthless. You're considered a person his cup is overrunning. So as men, we need to develop relationships with other men who have similar values and goals as us. That's why it's very important. As men, we need to learn how to socialize. If you're not good at socializing, you have to go out, approach women, talk to people, go out, do different meetup groups, build friendships and connections. Learn how to do it. Don't do it your old way, like in high school, where you develop relationships with people who take advantage of you and shit on you and all that stuff. you have to develop a good relationship with yourself. And that's what comes first. You have to develop your dark side. Your shadow, as Jordan Peterson likes to call it. Actually, it's not even Jordan Peterson likes to call it. It's just like, well, I think, what's his name? That famous psychologist. I think, is it Freud? I forget. Yeah, it's Freud, yeah. He says you have to develop your shadow. If your shadow isn't developed, the part of your... fuck, man, it's raining like crazy. If your shadow isn't developed, then you are more likely to be used, abused, and manipulated. So don't let that happen. I was working at this place at No Frills. I was used, abused, and manipulated for so long. And I'll let that happen because I never stood up for myself. And the way I stood up for myself was not shaking somebody's hand years later. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys for listening.